George Osborne is seriously misinformed, and David Cameron could be backing off the Green agenda because of influences in his party. That's the warning tonight from Al Gore, the former American vice president turned campaigner and author. Having done climate change with The Inconvenient Truth, his latest book is about an altogether easier topic: the future. Al Gore's 25-year political career took him to the White House and the world stage. He served as Veep to Bill Clinton for 8 years before losing his own campaign for the presidency to George W. Bush in that disputed election of 2000. He then stepped aside from politics, but not from campaigning.
I am Al Gore. I used to be the next president of the United States of America.
Now best known for his work on climate change, the Oscar-winning documentary An Inconvenient Truth was a box office smash in 2006. A year later, he was joint winner of the Nobel Peace Prize. Vastly rich from investments in the media, the internet and renewable energy, he's not a man who needs to work anymore, but he has put his mind to the future, the title of his new book, which explores the forces shaping the world and driving global change, from biotechnology and the internet to shifting global power and depletion of the world's resources. Well, I spoke to Al Gore by satellite from New York. You can see much more of it online, but here's some of what we discussed. Well, one of the more controversial arguments you put from a European perspective, perhaps, in this book, is that you say the best chance for success in shaping a positive future for the world is still global leadership by the United States. Does that not risk looking rather arrogant in 2013 to be saying that still?
I seriously believe that an objective analysis of global politics in 2013 would lead most reasonable observers to conclude that the European Union is not likely to be able to pick up the standard of global leadership if the United States does not carry it. China does not have the trust and confidence or moral authority to play that role. They're dealing with terrible problems at home. Who else can do it? Certainly not Russia, not Brazil. I do think that, objectively speaking, we need global leadership, and I think, objectively speaking, the United States remains the indispensable nation. And if that sounds like it comes from a place of too much pride in country, I guess I'll have to just own up to that. But I do think it's the truth.
Let's talk a little bit about this whole question of electoral politics and the influence that has. I mean, isn't that a lot to do with why America didn't lead the way on climate change when it came to the Kyoto Protocol and other issues? I mean, you know, the reality of who will vote for what in what constituency is always going to trip you up.
I disagree, because 70% of the American people want to see something done to start solving the climate crisis.
But they don't vote for it.
And yet, well, because in the election system as it operates today, the dominance of television advertising gives preference to those who have huge amounts of money, corporations, for example, and other special interests, to plead their special case.
The climate change issue that really sort of took off around the world after Inconvenient Truth, and where you think we are now. If you look at a country like Britain, you will see political leaders rolling back the environmental agenda, saying things like, we're not going to save the world by wrecking our business or going out of business. Are they making terrible mistakes?
Yes, yes. And I think that there were such hopeful signs when Prime Minister Cameron came into power. I have worried that there are influences in his party that have backed him off. But I don't give up hope, and I think that it's cause for optimism that both in the United Kingdom and in the United States, solid majorities of people want to see this issue dealt with.
The Chancellor said, we're not going to save the planet by going out of business. What would you say to him?
Well, first of all, I'm not an expert on your politics and don't wish to interfere in your politics. but anyone who opposes a direct conflict between the health of business and the health of the planet and the health of the environment in a great country like the United Kingdom is seriously misinformed. Business suffers from flooding and from drought, from these windstorms, and sustainable business prosperity really has to be based on a view of the future that is grounded in facts.
And yet this week, respected scientists in Norway put out a report that grabbed a lot of headlines saying global warming isn't as bad as people like you were warning.
Well, I disagree that that's what that particular report said. There are many reports that analyze what degree of sensitivity the Earth has to global warming. This is one of them. But even in this report that you referred to, they predict a 3.5 degree Fahrenheit increase within 37 years. And look at the devastation we've had with only a 1 degree increase, with the Arctic ice cap melting, the jet stream meandering, the droughts and floods and escalating strong storms. This is something that we really have to face up to.
Can I ask you a little bit about you now? I mean, you describe yourself as a recovering politician. Does that mean being a politician is a bad thing that you don't want to go back to?
It means that the chances of a relapse have been diminishing for long enough to increase my confidence that I will not succumb to that temptation again.
So temptation implies you do think of it as something to disparage, as a bad thing. I mean, you know, you're using the language of alcoholism or drug abuse.
Well, it's a joke. It's intended to be humorous, but there's some... Well, I do mean it, and there is often truth in humor. I honor the profession of politics, and I encourage young people to go into it. I don't have plans to become a candidate again, though.